Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today we are talking about Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown. So this released February 18th, so relatively quick turnaround on the old review, or as quick as I get. I have finished the game and I want to share my thoughts on it. I know some of its detractors are calling it basically a mobile game. There is some truth to this. It does have a lot of systems that I've seen in mobile games before that have kind of been bolted on. There's elements of Fallout Shelter, Star Trek Fleet Command, things like that, and a lot of the game is primarily a visual novel. And what it does is it tells the story of Voyager across the TV show. So from caretaker to them returning home. Spoiler, they return home if you didn't know. And, you know, I had fun with it. It's not without its flaws, but it generally works well. It's not helped by the fact that I remember most of Voyager because I've seen it several times. So whenever a picture of whoever I was communicating with popped up, I knew exactly what was coming. So there's that. I mean, maybe because it's retelling the TV show rather than doing an original story, that's to be expected, I guess. So obviously your objective is to get back home, and doing that you go through all the trials and tribulations that the crew in the TV show did, with a few notable exceptions, it must be said. Year of Hell, not in here. I don't know why, because that's such a huge storyline in Voyager. The Herosian taking over Voyager and putting them in the holodeck, not in here. Them being hijacked and left on a planet by the Kazon, that's not in there. There's a lot like that. But you get a good amount of the main arcs from the show, and you can change them. That's one of the nice things about it. So, I mean, I managed to lose 7 in B'Elanna in one away mission, but it was okay because I got Pelk, a Malon, who was in the show, and Seska, who obviously was in the show. I got her as a crew member back as well after the whole trying to pinch Voyager, which didn't happen in the game but did the show and all of that. And she didn't knock herself up with Chakotay's seed either, so there you go. Definitely some things going on that's different. But yeah, I mean, one thing it didn't let you do, we did try. It doesn't let you just take the Voyager, the caretaker array, and use it to send Voyager home right at the start. It would have made me laugh if it was just like, game over, you're back in the Alpha Quadrant. Was it the Beta Quadrant? I can't remember whichever one's Earthing, because it's like right on the dividing line, so I'm not sure whether it's Alpha or Beta. I think it's Beta in Star Trek Online. I'd have to look it up, but I'm not going to do that right now. Yeah, that would have been funny, but no, it didn't let you do that, unfortunately. It does actually sort of fix a plot hole from Caretaker, though, in the fact that in Caretaker, everybody's like, well, why didn't you put timed explosives on the array, use it to send yourself home, and then it would blow up after you were gone, which makes sense. But in that, the Kazon and reinforcements were coming, where in this, the Kazon reinforcements have actually arrived when you make that decision. So you either blow it up and fuck off, or you know, that's why it doesn't work when you try and, use it to send yourself home, because the Kazon are already there. So the gameplay itself, as I say, most of it's a visual novel. Most of what you'll be doing will be very Fallout Shelterish. You'll be clearing out rubble and building rooms on the ship, and unlocking tech tree through research to upgrade rooms and put better versions of them in. You have several different resources which range from like elements that you use to build with, to deuterium, which basically is your fuel for your warp drive and your replicators and all that stuff. And it goes, as you move about, you'll go through cycles, which are the equivalent of days, and everything that you're doing takes food and power down, so you need to make sure you're topped up. If you run out of food, you can go to the replicator and use that in exchange for power, and if you run out of power, or you enter what's called grey mode, which basically shuts down most of your systems and you just are able to move around, really, not do much else. just enough so you can get to a deuterium planet, of which there's quite a few. That's there too, and you know, once it goes to grey mode, obviously you can't use, so you end up on emergency rations, which actually don't use up any resources, but it has a hit on your morale, I should say. So it's a balancing out with the resources. On harder difficulties, the resource, it does become a problem, but for like just regular and easy, then there's plenty of resources. There are parts of the game when it becomes a problem because of something suddenly happens which causes you to lose most of your resources, or rooms are damaged so you stop being able to do stuff. So it's all about maintaining and researching. Also, if you have, like Voyager, pretty beefy in terms of combat, because you get, you know, the X-Borg, not just 7, you do actually get a population of X-Borg on this as well, and you can actually build a maturation chamber and have more X-Borg by making Borg and then making them X-Borg, I guess. But yeah, so you get access to Borg technology, so you get like a cutting beam, which is pretty powerful, but isn't very good against I think shields. It's one way. It's really good against hull, not so great against shields. But you can put that in. So the away missions are pretty much, I think it's Starfleet Command, or Star Trek Star Fleet Command, I think was what it is. The mobile dealie. I think it's pretty much ripped from there wholesale. So you have a number of skills in your crew, like command, tactical, medical, science, engineering, all of that jazz. And they all have a number, and as they level up, they'll level up to maximum 10, and their numbers will go up as they level up. And as you go through, when you start, before you beam over, when you're picking which 3 members of your crew you're going to send to the away mission, you'll see the list of challenges, and you'll see which skills apply to which challenges. So there might be 5, and the first one might be command, medical, or engineering. So you make sure you've got people in your party that can deal with them, but you don't want to use the same crew back to back, because they become fatigued and their stats go down, and if you keep fatiguing them, they can become injured. And obviously if you use them twice in a row, their stats drop like a fucking rock, and they need a turn to recover. So you need to plan your away team against the challenges, so you're always using a fresh crewman, and also have the skills available to get through it. Now, that's not to say that that's an automatic pass, because some of the skill challenges might be like 45 and you've got a 34 skill for it, in which case it's random. You basically get a dice roll, and if it's that number, then it's 100%, you'll always do it, and if it's higher than that number, you might critically do it, whereas if it's lower, there's a chance for failure. And that's basically the away missions. And obviously you make choices as well. It will tell you when you're making a plot critical choice, as it'll be highlighted around it in gold. So at the end, when you're confronted with the Borg Nexus, you can choose to destroy it and not go home that way, or you can, much in the show, end up destroying it by using Admiral Janeway as a distraction and sending yourselves home. I actually had Rebellion Borg on my side, which they didn't in the show though, so that made the combat a little bit easier. The combat itself is quite rudimentary. It's done pretty much by itself. You can set tactics, so you can tell it to attack the weapons or shields on the thing. Sometimes they'll have multiple weapon emplacements, and the shields are sort of side specific, so you have your port, starboard, bow and starboard shields. You don't really get involved with 3 dimensions in this. It's kind of like a faux 3 dimensions, so it's just the sides and that's it. There's also skills that your crewmen can have. So you've got Harry, who can make their shields be more susceptible to penetrative fire, so it's got more chance of getting damage through their shields rather than having to take the shields down before you start damaging the hull, of which there's a chance anyway, but that just increases it. Tom will do evasive maneuvers, which gives you a chance to obviously evade enemy fire, things like that. There's more offensive ones. It depends on any of your heroes, so like your officers, you can put in there. And it does work quite well. I mean, I never at the battle went, oh god, more fighting. Especially when you get to the end there and you're like fully jazzed up on like Borg tech and you've upgraded everything and you're basically a beast. You're just taking down Borg cubes like they're nothing. It's very power fantasy-ish, and something I suspect Voyager would have approached if they spent another season in the Delta Quadrant, perhaps, because they did go from like, yeah, Borg, no problem, to like when they discovered they were crossing a Borg space, they were like, shit, we're fucked. But like by the time they left it, they were just like, Borg, whatever. So yes, the shipboard inboard sort of resource room building is very much like Fallout Shelter. Each one you consumes energy. Your warp core has a maximum energy output. You can raise that by upgrading the warp core itself, and that gives you access to higher tiers of energy output. Obviously, if you don't want to, if you've got like loads of energy spare, then you might want to take it down one, because the higher the tier of energy output, the more deuterium it uses. So it's very much a balancing act and getting everything run harmoniously. So you won't ever get to self-sufficient, but there are methods of getting like deuterium and food. Internally, like your Busar collectors, you can upgrade them and they collect deuterium as you go. Obviously, you can put in hydroponic space, which generate food, things like that. What else? So, as a game, it's when you look at the parts, you're like mobile game, but it all comes together quite well. I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed like seeing some of the things that were made different. Like, there are points where I was like, I'm a bit pissed off that like there's no Suda in the game. You don't get that, and a lot of the options were taken out of my hands. This is one of the main criticisms I have for it. Is like I kept Tuvix, yeah. So like Janeway being super hypocritical and like basically killing Tuvix to get Tuvok and Neelix back. After like being like, well, Neelix, you can be in the medbed forever, not being able to move with a pair of holographic lungs, because I'm not going to kill the Vidian. Is it Vidian? I think it is. Who nicked your lungs? So sorry about that. and then she was fine with killing Tuvix to separate for Tuvok and Neelix. Obviously she doesn't give a shit about Neelix, but I guess it was Tuvok, her old mate. But because I didn't have those two, I had a ton of options like locked off for me. Anything that was Tuvok specific. Even though I had Tuvix, who, it still had like all of Tuvok's knowledge, and turned out to be one of the guys I sent on most of the away missions, because he had Neelix diplomacy and Tuvok's tactical, and those were their best traits. So I sent him on a lot of missions. But even though it didn't change to Tuvix, I didn't have Tuvok, so I couldn't do it. And same for stuff with Neelix as well. But you'll find like a lot of like the one-off episodes, like where the Metron Cascade that took out Neelix's home planet, and the Doctor finds them that created it. That is like a side mission in there. There's tons of stuff like that. A lot of the side missions, if you're familiar with Voyager, you will recognise instantly. And you're always like, oh, I know what's going to happen now, shit. I mean, in the B'Elanna one where she's split into her Klingon and human self, it's possible to walk away with that with the Klingon and human versions of B'Elanna still there. I didn't. I managed. Well, I fucked it up, and they had to be merged back together. But it is possible to lose them both as well. So, I guess it could have been worse. I lost her to Hirogen instead. But whatever. But it is a fun game, I will say. I had a good time with it. I think fans of the show will have a good time with it, just reliving and seeing what they can do differently. As you know, if you call it a visual novel, I think that's the fairest reflection of it, because all the gameplay interactions, the building, the way missions, the combat, stuff like that, it's all fine by itself, and put together it adds to it. But I think None of them are like show-stopping enough that you wouldn't call this anything other than a visual novel with some extra like bells and whistles on it, which I think is the case. But I mean, it's like 25 quid. It's not that expensive. I had a good time with it. It did last quite a while, actually. It took me like over a day to get through it, sort of playing it almost constantly. I mean, I did like fiddle ass around in some systems because I was waiting for upgrades to trigger, so I could like, you try and grind it, but it does punish you for doing that. The longer you stay in a particular episode, you will start to get morale deficits, so obviously that's a bad thing. It's quite easy to get up in the early game, but like in the late game, you can get some big ones, and there's one where there's one goal where you need to keep it above a certain level to like get through that episode, if you like. So there's quite a lot going on. There's quite a lot of familiar faces. Some of them are pictures from the show that have been given like a sort of, I don't want to say a video gaming makeover, perhaps would be the best way of putting it. So others are better than some. I don't think they could be asked to make a Kazon that wasn't March colour, because any Kazon you talk to, they have a little portrait pop up down the bottom, and you're like, okay, it kind of looks like that character. But whenever you talk to that character on the view screen, it's March colour. So, so obviously they were fine with doing the thumbnail for him, but making the actual model for anyone but March colour, nah, pointless. Let's not do that. So yeah, that was a little bit weird. And some of them don't look right. I mean, most of them are okay, and you can recognise who they are. But so, I mean, we were sat there going, is that guy at the helm Tom? And then Tom took over and we're like, no, it's not Tom. Look, that's Tom. But the other guy looked suspiciously like sort of distorted Tom. So it was like, I don't know. In terms of voice acting, there's very little. There's 2 cast members reprising their roles, and that is Tim Russ and Robert Duncan McNeil. You do get log entries from both of them if you've still got them at the beginning of each episode. And any voice work in the game is them, and that is it. Everything else is red. There is music, but it's kind of like low-key. The Voyager theme is in there. But there are some cutscenes, and the cutscenes do look nice. The model of Voyager itself looks good. And the other ships look pretty good in combat as well. They've done a nice job there. But I mean, it's not as passive as most visual novels because you've got all the other game elements to it. So maybe give it a look if you're a Star Trek fan, even if you're not the biggest fan of visual novels. There might be something for you there. And you know, you're not paying like 70, 80 quid for it. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, it's a good game. It has controller support, although I never used it. And it's in it mostly positive. I'm sure the people that put it as not positive just called it a mobile game. Which, they have a semi-point there. I can't see anything in this that would make me go, that would be impossible to do as a mobile version. Really nothing. Except maybe the price point at which they want to sell it, I guess. But no, I enjoyed it. I don't feel like I wasted my money or anything. It's not one I'm burgeoning to go back and play. It's not one of those ones where I'm like, oh, I've got to go through again and try and get different results. Because I know the storyline for everything in the game and playing through it once. I was already familiar with it, so I'm not really going to be going back through it anytime soon, even if it's just to get a better outcome. Which basically means not losing 7 in Balana, which was like my biggest fuck up in the game. You know, I would probably still keep Tuvix. I liked him better than either Tuvok or Neelix in like one episode that we saw him. So make of that what you will. But yeah, that's my review of Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown. Good game, enjoyed it. Maybe not for everybody. Probably be my my takeaway. But if you're a huge Voyager fan, it's a no-brainer. And if you just like visual novels and don't mind Star Trek, then yeah, might be good too. Anyway, that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.